Evening guys, I hope you are well. This video will be showing you how to produce a response for the writer's effect question. If you haven't already done so, please do watch my previous video on this paper titled The Magician, or this video probably will make little sense to you. We are going to be using the 5-step method, the 5 steps to success. My goodness, far too many S's for my liking. To ensure you end up with a well-organized and well-written response with a focus on the writer's use of language. But first, let's recap those very important steps. Step 1, the overall effect of the language. So what is the writer trying to achieve in whatever paragraph you have been directed to? It's really, really important that you get it right, because if you get this wrong, or if it's not focused enough, then the chances of everything else being not that focused on what the writer's trying to achieve, very high. I've seen it happen before, so just ensure that you do pay attention to getting this right. Step 2, using a suitable transition phrase, embedded quotation. Step 4, the zoom in technique, so zooming into a powerful word or a technique such as a simile or onomatopoeia. Step 5 is using some sort of analytical verb to signpost your analysis. And step 5 is the most important step. This is essentially where you get your marks from. So let's see how I have put this response together. This response is looking at paragraph 6 of the Magician first language paper. So starting with step 1. The overall effect of the language creates a sense of the magician's tricks being a complete disappointment, almost as if he's unable to recover from a string of failures and blunders. Perhaps a little bit verbose, a little bit wordy, but it does the job. It shows the examiner that you understand what the writer is trying to achieve. Step 2, using a transition phrase. As I've said in my previous video, I recommend my students to use the writer begins by. Even though the paragraphs are quite short, try and get some evidence from the beginning, middle and end. Don't look at images that are all clumped together, if that makes sense. So the writer begins by describing that the magician surveyed his forlorn heap of tricks. Okay, here is your embedded quotation. Examiners love students who can embed their quotations. If you are one of these students who are still expressing your ideas along the lines of the writer uses the quote hyphen quotation marks, it just breaks up your writing. It just spoils the fluidity and the flow of your writing. So please do practice embedding your quotations. It does take a little bit of practice, but it just elevates your writing to that next level. Then we are using the zoom in technique. So for the first quotation, we are zooming into a word. I put powerful verb here. I clearly meant adjective. Oh, it's been a long day. So the writer's use of the powerful adjective forlorn is particularly striking and seems to suggest that the magician is no longer in control. There's a palpable sense of sadness felt by the magician. The tricks are left in a sorry state and are now neglected, which seem to mirror the magician's feelings. I have no idea what this says. I can only apologise. I just want to draw your attention to 2 things. This phrase here, particularly striking, okay? Examiners love that evaluative voice that comes through. So when we evaluate the writer's ideas and methods, we are discussing how successful they are. And they love that. So just try and express your ideas in a similar way. Notice the length of my analysis. This is where you get your marks from, okay? So one sentence or one idea is probably not enough to get those top marks. Then we go on to look at our second quotation, starting with a transition phrase. The writer then goes on to describe that the magician's tricks are desperately revealing their secrets. Another well-embedded quotation. The writer's use of personification. So we've looked at a word, we've showed the examiners that we can look at powerful words. Now we are using the zoom in technique to look at a particular technique that the writer is choosing to use. This almost creates a sense that even his tricks have given up on him. It's like they are trying to humiliate or shock the magician so that he tightens up his act. Okay, I mean, you might have different ideas here. That is the beauty of English language. You are given credit for how insightful your ideas. So really try and think outside the box and develop those inferential skills. Lastly, the writer describes the wand as being bent and preparing to take a tragic bow. The writer's use of imagery here is incredibly striking, so that evaluative voice coming in again, suggesting that the magician's livelihood is hanging in the balance. Perhaps there's a sense that he won't be able to work in this industry again due to the mistakes he has made. The fact that the wand is bent almost makes it seem defunct and redundant, possibly foreshadowing the magician's own future. So there you have it, guys. Here is a model response looking at paragraph 6 to the magician paper. I hope it's helped. I will endeavour to look at some more past papers with the writer's effect question as the main focus. As ever, if you have any questions, please do leave them below. Thanks.